better on this one, but here we go. Today is February 19th, 2024, and I'm officially 40 years old, which is insane. I don't feel like that, guys. I feel way younger. Still feel like I could be 19 sometimes, although my body might not agree with that on all days. I'm going to go ahead and adopt that millennial TikTok trend and say that, hey, I'm not 40. That's just a number. But anyways, I already did this once today, so I'm sorry if I'm not delivering it with the energy that I was before, but let's just get right into it. Last week was absolutely crazy with AI. There's breakthroughs happening on a consistent level, so it's actually really hard to keep up on all of this news, but that's why I'm here for you guys to help you stay up on this news. I'm also here to help you guys make sure that you can implement AI into your business and also automate your CRM, so that way we can provide much better customer service to our clients, which will in turn help us build a much stronger business. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk about Google. Google released Gemini a week and a half ago, basically, or 2 weeks ago. They released Gemini 1.0 Ultra for the Gemini Plus subscribers, and then they released Gemini Pro 1.0 for the free version. This came out as a disaster, guys. There was so much wrong with this model, it wasn't even funny. And I think because of that, we saw this immediate release the very next week from Google to Gemini 1.5. And boy, did they make some changes that are definitely worth talking about. But I also did a little bit of testing on it, and I want to talk about that too. So first and foremost, let's talk about what they've made as far as changes from 1.0 to 1.5 and why that's important to you. So Gemini 1.5 now has the ability to have 10 million tokens in one chat. So for those of you that don't understand what tokens mean, or tokenization for large language models, what this means is this is how a large language model determines the data being input into it and how to output it out, right? So they don't just read our words and understand it and reason with it like a lot of people think. What they do is each word that goes in is a token or a series of tokens, and then Gemini or the large language models will basically read these tokens and decide what the most likely pattern to go after that would be, which is why they're able to communicate with us on such a human-like basis. So what they've done with Gemini 1.5 Ultra is they've allowed up to 10 million tokens. So this is an insanely large amount of data. You can have chats that go on and on and on and on with this thing, and it will not hallucinate or forget the previous conversations that we've had. Excuse me. But it gets even cooler than that, guys. It can analyze video, and it can analyze audio, and it can do it at a greater scale than any large language model out there right now currently available to the public. So we can do 3 hours of video, and it can analyze that video and even pick up little tiny parts in it. So for one example, they basically uploaded a movie in there, and they said, get to the part in the movie where, you know, this certain character makes a comedic joke about something. And Gemini was able to find that exact spot in the movie. And when they went back to compare and see if it was accurate, it in fact was accurate. So this is a pretty big breakthrough as far as memorization and tokenization goes for our large language models. So it's something to definitely pay attention to. Also, they can do 22 hours of audio, and it can analyze that 22 hours of audio. So this is a huge game changer for large audio data sets that need to be analyzed. So this could be used in, you know, courtroom scenarios and all this other crazy stuff like that, where a large bank of audio needs to be analyzed and bullet pointed or broken down into a summary. Gemini can now do that. So when this was announced as released, I had to go back and test it because I tested it earlier and it just wasn't that impressive. And now I tested it again. And the first question I asked Gemini was, what version are you? And Gemini responded with, I'm not a version, that I'm not a typical kind of software that would have versions. And we all know that that's completely wrong, because Google has actually been announcing their version numbers since the release of Gemini when it replaced Bard. So I corrected it and I said, no, you do have a model number. Please try again. And it did get it right. It said, hey, I'm currently Gemini 1.0. I'll be releasing an update Gemini 1.5 here in the next relatively shortly, blah, blah, blah. So it ended up getting it right. But the main key at this point in time is that I just don't think that the Gemini model's fully there yet. I love the tokenization capabilities and its insane memory, but when it comes to giving us relevant information, it seems to struggle even knowing what its own model is. So with that being said, I still think that Chatgpt is going to remain king. OpenAI is going to remain the top of the business on that, and it's what I'm going to depend on for my large language model and content generation going forward. Now, speaking of OpenAI, they've dropped some huge bombs this last week where they did release their text-to-video model, which is called Sora. It's not available to the public yet, but they have distributed it out to certain testers and artists, and the results are fucking amazing. Like, I can't say it any clearer than that. It is absolutely wild. I would love to share some screenshots with you on here, but I don't know if I'm allowed to yet. Based on, privatization and all that good stuff. So if you're interested to see what these videos look like, just go ahead and Google OpenAI Sora and see the results that came from that are absolutely insane, guys. And the crazy thing about it is, while a lot of people are seeing on the front end, like, hey, yeah, it's able to take text and generate video, but the videos are like physically accurate. And I mean, as far as the laws of physics go. So what's that mean, right? If the model wasn't trained on physics, then how did it learn real world physics, right? So my question to everybody is, did OpenAI just achieve artificial general intelligence? And for those of us that don't know what AGI is basically a humanized robot, right? It's a robot that can think, feel, and make its own determinations on its own will, right? And this is kind of what we may have seen here. Now, I'm not like the world's most leading expert on how the back end of these large language models work, but I can tell you that it was fed a two-dimensional picture of a car. It was asked to create, it was fed a two-dimensional picture of a car and asked to recreate it, and it did, but it did it in 3 dimensions. So that means that this model was able to, with lightning speed, take a look at a 2D model, understand the depth perception of it, and basically create its own simulated physical universe that abides by our laws of physics. That's insane, guys. Like that is absolutely crazy that it could do it that fast without being trained on it. And it begs the question, like, is this AGI? Is this the beginning of AGI? And we thought we were still years out of this, or what that's going to look like. But I think we might have actually got it, and it might have came in this in the form of Sora. So it's going to be really interesting going forward as to what happens, especially once that's released to the public. I'm going to be testing it, and I'm going to be showing you guys kind of the results that I'm getting with it. But from what we did see so far online, it's pretty crazy. There's one where they did a video of a couple of ships inside a cup of coffee, and they're navigating through these treacherous waters of coffee, and it's creating foam on the tips of the waves, and the ships are going back and forth with the water, and it's just physical reality is absolutely insane. And for a large language model that's not trained on this data set to actually understand all of this or see it, learn it, and create its own understanding of that is just insane. It's absolutely as crazy as it gets. And in my opinion, I think that OpenAI may have figured out or may have discovered artificial general intelligence, and they're only showing us the tip of the iceberg. So it's going to be really exciting to see where this goes from here. And yeah, was it really AGI? So as we move forward into this wonderful world of AI, it's going to be exciting to see what keeps coming down the pipeline. Now, for me, I've been using Chatgpt more and more and more, and it's actually started to replace my Google searches. And one of the things that I think is going to be a big question for a lot of people coming up is, as people start to go to large language models like Chatgpt or Gemini to get answers to their questions, there's going to be less Google searching going on, right? So the question that all of these businesses are going to have is, how do we get people to find us when they're searching a large language model, right? I mean, I get that the large language model is trained on data sets that are basically all of everything that's ever been in the internet, but we have, for Google search, we have search engine optimization, right? Where you can go in and you can do your SEO with your keywords and your meta descriptions and all of that good stuff, which, full disclosure, I don't know much about that and how it works, but there's that capability to help make you easier found online. Well, what's that going to look like when we all start going towards these large language models as our search databases? Well, that's going to be something called generative engine optimization, or GEO, right? So the question is going to be is how do we do GEO in our company to make sure that when people start migrating over to the large language models to get the answers to their questions, that we are the businesses that pop up. It's going to be interesting. I honestly have no idea on how that's going to work, but I know that some people do. And if you're one of those people, comment below and let me know. I would love to learn more about it. That's going to be my goal for this week, is to study more on GEO and what that's going to look like in the future. But I think it's going to be a big game changer to all of us that advertise online. And this is going to be a primary area of focus to make sure that we don't get lost while other companies are figuring this out. So, with that being said, all of this technology is absolutely amazing, right? Well, who's behind it, right? Like who's behind all of this? Well, and the answer is chip makers, right? Like Nvidia and AMD. These guys are some of the biggest chip manufacturers in the entire world. And Nvidia is really what's behind Chatgpt. Those are the chips that these guys are using to create these large language models, that these chips are able to handle all of these data sets. And it's a publicly traded company. And I was online today thinking like, what does Nvidia's stock look like year over year? Well, the answer is astounding, guys. Year over year, Nvidia's stock has increased in value by 251%. Yes, 251%. So that means if you were online a year ago and you decided to dump a couple $1,000 into Nvidia, your investment would have appreciated by 251% in just 1 year. Guys, I'm not a financial advisor and I do not offer financial advice, but I can say one thing: the signs are there, right? I think the value is going to be in these chip manufacturers and the chips that these guys are creating, which is also why Sam Altman has said that he's looking to fundraise $7 trillion with a T, trillion dollars, into creating his own chipsets, right? So we're going to start seeing a little bit more competition in the chipset industry there. But for now, Nvidia holds king. They're beating out AMD by a long shot, and with a 251% appreciation in 1 year, I would have to say that it looks pretty promising for those Nvidia investors. So congratulations on you if you are an Nvidia investor. If you are not, then I would look into it. Once again, I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not giving you financial advice. But when all the signs are pointing to it, it's pretty hard to ignore that 251% appreciation in 1 year is not something to just look at lightly. So with that being said, AI's all over the internet right now, and we're seeing a whole bunch of stuff like what happened in New Hampshire with Joe Biden. What happened is somebody went onto 11 Labs, which is an AI app that clones your voice, and they cloned Joe Biden's voice, and they made a bunch of robocalls spewing out a whole bunch of BS that wasn't true during the New Hampshire primaries, and it caused a major uproar and upset throughout the entire community and federal government and everything like that. So what we've seen last week is that Microsoft and 20 other additional big tech companies that are involved in AI have said that they are going to come out and they are going to implement practices to try to combat this generation of misinformation that we have going on. Year over year, we've seen a 900% increase in deep fakes, which deep fakes are basically AI's ability to recreate somebody and have them say something that they may have not have said. And this can be extremely damaging, especially during election years when we see people purposely putting out misinformation for the elections. So these tech companies are all banding together, and they're going to do everything in their power that they can to stop this misinformation, which on the surface sounds great. People are like, oh my God, like this is awesome. Let's stop election misinformation. But let's not forget about what happened in 2020, where we had tech companies like Meta literally burying information on the opposition party that they didn't want to have elected. And you have to ask yourself, is this something that could happen again? Now, especially with AI, are they going to still focus on capture or on combating misinformation, but are they going to bury the opposing views that they don't want? It's honestly something that I think is a big deal, and it's a question that needs to be asked. And how do we guarantee their transparency through all of this? The answer is we don't, right? So in the end, it's up to us as individuals to do our due diligence and try to figure out, what is true on our own through our own research. So as we move forward closer to this election and all of this stuff starts coming out, I just encourage everybody to do your own research, do your own due diligence, and come to your own conclusions. Don't let the media tell you what to believe. Don't let these social media companies tell you what to believe. You have to make these decisions on your own. The sake of our country depends on it. And that's as far as I'm going to go with the political stuff on this channel, guys. So just do your diligence, do your research, and come to your own conclusions and make your own decisions that way. All right. With all of that being said, I know it's been a lot, guys. I'm going to wrap it up with this one. The FCC has came out with an injunction because of that phone call or that series of robocalls that was placed. And they have changed the rules on us as advertisers and as business owners and how we communicate with our clients via artificial intelligence. So as of right now, effective immediately, this was actually last week, you can no longer communicate with your leads via artificial intelligence. So for those of us that are bringing in leads via the internet or whatever means, using AI to qualify these leads and find out where they're at in the process and get their questions answered, we can no longer do so without explicit written consent from each and every lead that we do this to. So I see that having a series of implications for big companies like Air.AI, which is literally a company that cold calls your database for you by means of AI and qualifies them and attempts to set an appointment or sell a product. Well, if you bought into this company and decided to implement it on your 20,000 lead database, well, overnight, the FCC just basically put a stop on that. You can't do it. You have to get each and every lead inside that database to give you explicit written consent that states that you can communicate with them via artificial intelligence means. So what does that mean for us going forward? Well, it means that we're going to need to get with our legal departments and we're going to need to change our terms of service when these leads actually decide to click on our ads and sign up for our stuff. We already have to get their permission to call them, to text them, and to email them. Well, now we're going to need to get their permission to communicate with them via artificial intelligence means, right? And some of you might be thinking, well, why would I want to contact my database via artificial intelligence? That's fake. It's ingenuine. Well, I'm here to tell you I politely disagree with you, right? It's all about the perspective for which you look at it, okay? Like if you're in a closing and your client has a question that needs to be answered really quickly and you can't get to them for another hour, well, that's doing a disservice to your client, right? Well, if you had artificial intelligence implemented into your business to the point to where that client could get that answer immediately, knowing that they were talking to your robot that you created specifically for them and this transaction, how would that not translate as a really good area of customer service? Like, I just don't see it. So I am proud to be that real estate agent that is technologically advanced and proud to implement artificial intelligence into my business for the primary goal of simplifying the process for you as my client to get the answers you need when you want them. Overall, creating a much better customer experience, which is what it's all about in the end. So what we had with the FCC coming out and making this injunction and creating it to be very difficult for those of us to do that kind of hurts a little bit, but at the same time, it gives us the opportunity as business owners to come out here, embrace AI if you're that type of business, and say, hey, everybody, yes, I am using AI. Yes, I use AI to create my content. Yes, I use AI to communicate with my clients when I'm not available to do so, because us as realtors, we wear many, many hats, right? Like we're not always available all the time, but it would be nice to be able to have a couple versions of us, which is what my goal is with AI, which is what my goal is with customer relationship management. So if you are an agent and you are thinking, how do I implement AI into my business? How do I get my CRM dialed in so that way I can provide a better customer experience? Well, then I'm your guy. I can help you with that. This is what I do. I specialize in CRM automation and AI implementation into your business. And I can show you guys how to do this ethically, responsibly, to create a better customer experience, which once again, that's what it's all about, guys. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this and got a little value out of this. If you did, please comment below and let me know what you guys thought. If you need help implementing AI or you have questions about what it would look like to implement AI into your business, send me a DM, comment below, or just give me a call. I'm always available to try to help. That's my main goal here. You don't even have to be a realtor. You could be a small business. I help travel agents. I help lenders. I help small businesses that have physical locations. The reality is that AI is going to make it equally it's like the great equalizer, right? Like you have these big corporations that have these awesome ad budgets and these digital marketers that they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for, and now we have that capability for a $20 a month subscription to OpenAI's Chatgpt. And I want to show you guys how to do this so that way we can compete with the big guys and we stop seeing small businesses get stomped out by big corporations. It's the great equalizer, like I said. It's an amazing piece of technology, and I am more than excited to help you guys learn it and implement it into your business. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I'm going to spend some time with the kids because my birthday is also President's Day and a holiday. So that means that I get to spend the day with them. And that's what I'm off to do right now. I hope you guys all have an amazing week.